Hi everyone, welcome back. This week I thought I'd do something kind of fun and show you guys how to make little snail terrariums. I know that one of the most favorite activities in the garden is turning over the tree stumps, finding all the little decomposers that we look for, all the roly-polies and millipedes and worms, all that fun stuff, and of course the snails. So I thought I'd show you guys how to build a little terrarium habitat, okay? Now, a habitat, as you guys remember that we've talked about before, is a place where an animal is able to have shelter, find food and water so that it can live, okay? So we're making kind of a small habitat for our animals to live in. Things that you can use around the house as containers. You can use mason jars, so it can be something as small as a mason jar. Better if it's clear, not blue, but that's the kind I had sitting around. You can use larger kind of Tupperware type of things like this. If you're going to use something like this that has a lid, ask a parent or someone to help you make holes in the top so that they can, so the airflow is getting to our animals that are living in here. You can use old vases that are sitting around the house. You could use soda bottles, or this is kind of a smaller bottle, but the bigger bottles as well, and ask a parent to cut off the top for you. So that you can reach in, and we'll talk about how to cover up the top of something that's open like this a little bit later. I am going to use an old cookie jar that we just don't use much anymore. Here's my snail friend. He's hanging out waiting for his habitat to be built. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to show you the different layers that we're going to use to build up our little habitat. So first thing we want to put in is some gravel. So just little pebbles, gravel, whatever you can find. You can go outside looking for something like this, okay? So we're going to put a layer of gravel in, little pebbles. This helps with a few different things. This helps so that as you're spraying water into your terrarium later, you don't end up with it being too soggy, so it allows it to kind of drain. I also found some of these are kind of cool. These are more flat pieces of rock that broke off of a big sandstone kind of boulder near my house, and I thought these would be kind of cool. Also gives kind of a different place for some of the animals that I'll be showing you later to live and kind of hide in, okay? So we'll add a few of those in here to add a little bit of texture and interest for our animals. So we've got our rocks and pebbles in. Next, we're going to add in a layer of soil, okay? So this is just some soil that I had that I use for growing with, but you can certainly just go dig up some soil outside. That is perfectly fine. I just already had this, so it was nearby. So I'm going to add a nice layer of soil in. Now, you can set up your terrarium so that maybe you're just keeping a snail or two in here, or 3 or 4. But to make it a more well-rounded habitat or little ecosystem, we're going to add, or I'm going to show you guys some other animals that you can add into the habitat to make it a little more like what your snail would find in its normal environment, other animals that it would come across usually. So to start with, because we're in our soil layer here, I have a big earthworm that I found. He's a big guy. I am going to put him into the soil. And so we'll put him right in there so he's a little happier. Once we get a little more water in there, a little more moisture, he'll be happier. So we've got our earthworm. The next layer that we're going to be putting in is where we find a lot of the little decomposers, especially when we were in the garden. All those animals that live in, we call it kind of like the leaf litter, old rotting leaves, rotting wood, things like that. So I went and just collected underneath some bushes by my house, just different layers of old leaves, rotting wood chips, just mulch. So this is a really great layer, and in here, while I was collecting this, I found a lot of the little decomposers that I'm going to show you. So we're going to put a nice little layer of this in. Oh, and I almost forgot. Before I get too far, while I was out collecting things as well, one of the cool things that you can do is add a few little plants in. This is a little fern that I found kind of down by creek that's near my house. The reason why I picked this is because it likes the moisture and it can handle living in a shady environment. Any plants that you choose to put in here, it's best if they can handle shade and a bit of moisture, okay? Mainly because you don't want to put this into full sun. It would be too hot for our snails and our other little decomposer friends that are living in here, okay? So I'm going to add a little fern. I have a few other little plants from around my house that I thought might do well as well. So I'm going to add a few other little plants in here just to make it a little more interesting. Tuck those into the soil here. Just kind of different layers here. All right, so I've got my worm and its soil. I've got my nice leaf litter. I've got my plants going on there. I am going to add, I found some nice wood chips. So if you're out wandering around and someone has some wood chips that they're using as mulch, you can grab a couple of those to add some interest in. The things like millipedes and roly-polies and pincher bugs, love these. So add a few of those in. Any little twigs or sticks are always good too. I've got a few other just regular rocks that I found I can add in. So just lots of layers, which is really great for our decomposers. All right, so we've got all those nice layers in there. Now, introducing the animals that are going to come in with our snail. I have a little pincher bug. They like to get out of there. I've got a little pincher bug. He's not that big. I don't know if we can see him. He is going to go in. He really will like hiding in all the leaf litter and in underneath the wood chips. These guys I don't think you'll be able to see. They're too tiny. I have some little tiny millipedes in here. Where did you guys go? So tiny. Anyways, I have a few really small little millipedes. I will put pictures of them on the slide so that you can see what they look like a little bit bigger. So I've got a few millipedes. The thing you guys love to collect the most. I have a collection of different roly-polies that will be going in. I'm sure that they will be the clowns of the terrarium. So we'll add some roly-polies in here. Now I have a different kind of worm that I'm adding in here as well that I found in all of this leaf litter, which is a smaller worm, and you guys might remember this from the worm bins that I brought to school, and these are called red wigglers. Now they don't like to live deep in the soil like the earthworms do. They like to be just right in the leaf litter, just above the soil line, and these guys will be really important for helping keep our terrarium habitat clean. Along with all the other guys that we put in here, they will help keep this tank clean for our snails as well. Okay, so we're gonna put those guys in here, tuck them in. All right, so we've got all of those guys in. We are now going to introduce our snail in. I don't know if it'll come out well in my hand, but I'm going to place him in. He was very busy earlier, so we'll set that one right there. Now, a couple things to keep in mind when taking care of our snail terrarium is feeding our snail. There's a few different things that you can do. You can either get a small little tray, like a little piece of plastic or a tiny little plate to keep the food on, which can be different types of fruits and vegetables, and I'll give you, there'll be more information on that on the slides as well. So you can put it on a little tray. Because I do have the other decomposers in here, I'm going to just set it on top of things, because if the snail doesn't get to it, the other decomposers in here will help break that down, and it will be food for them too. Okay, so it's helping kind of feed everyone in here. So I've got some lettuce leaves, I have some tomatoes, and I have some snap peas. Okay. The other thing that snails really need is calcium to make sure that their shell is really strong when they're making it. So you can do a few things. You can go and buy what's called a cuttle bone at the pet store. If you've ever had a bird, or some rodents really need those as well. They're quite cheap. They're kind of oblong shape. You can get one of those. I am choosing to use some eggshells, crushed up eggshells. We're just going to put a small amount in so that the snail has something to get more calcium from. Okay, so I'll put a little pile of those guys in here. You're going to have to replenish this every so often. Keep an eye on this and the food. All right, so the other thing that we need for our snails, Adelaide, can you grab me the spray bottle right there? We need a little bit of moisture. So you don't want to put a bowl of water in here for the snails. They can drown in it. There you go. But using a spray bottle is a great way of getting moisture in here for the plants, for all of the decomposers, and for our snail. Okay, and the snail will drink the water. Uh-oh, I have to run away. Come back here, little roly-poly is escaping. All right, so I'm going to use my spray bottle and give everything in here a nice, good misting. And now, I know that with this, it looks like it's pretty tight, but this has enough give, and I know that there's enough air getting in here for them. If you are using one of these other containers, such as like a vase or something like this, that doesn't have a lid that comes with it, you can use something called cheesecloth, which has lots of little holes in it to allow the air to circulate and get into your little terrarium. You can tie that hold it on with a rubber band or a little bit of string or twine, and just take it on and off as you need. So something like that will help if you don't have a proper lid, okay? So that's it. I hope you enjoyed. This is something that's really cool. You'll have to just keep on top of adding a little food, keeping up on the water, and you might want to clean it out every so often. It just depends on whether you add very many decomposers or not, okay? So I hope you have fun, and I'll see you next time. Bye.